Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Why did Ripple acquire a company that is a rival to the use case of XRP as a bridge currency the way that Ripple is positioning it? Did you know that's what they just did? Look at this headline. This is from CoinDesk. Ripple to buy stablecoin payments firm Rail for $200 million to boost RLUSD. And I don't see anybody framing this in a proper way. You know, usually when it's obvious that there's some sort of perceived threat to XRP being used as a bridge currency, there are certain amounts of people within the XRP community on social media that, start getting a bit concerned. That's supposed to be XRP's thing. But I haven't seen anybody lashing out over this news. I just see celebration, and I think that a lot of people don't understand exactly what this company does. So let me make it very clear here at the outset, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty. The company Rail that they're buying, that Ripple's buying, is a direct competitor to Ripple. What they're doing is utilizing stablecoins as bridge currencies instead of utilizing XRP as a bridge currency. But other than that, it is effectively the same. Now, they target corporates, so it's all business-to-business transactions from what I could gather based on information available online. I don't think it's the retail type, so they're not going for the Western Union users, stuff like that. Typical remittance firm users. Ultimately, it's all business to business, but Ripple does that too. That's part of Ripple payments, actually. And back in the day, some of you that have been here a while might remember that it was branded back in the day as XVIA. There was XRapid, which utilized XRP as a bridge currency. Then there was XCurrent. That was just the messaging portion of it, which didn't do the settlement. And then there was XVIA. And XVIA was the same as XRapid, except for it was specifically for businesses. And then they rebranded as on-demand liquidity, and now it's just known as Ripple Payments. But Ripple does the same thing. So what's going on here, actually? They bought a competitor. Doesn't that eat into what they're trying to do? Not so fast. We're going to break this down for you. But before going further, I do want to be clear. I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, so let's get some basics out of the way here. This piece reads as follows. Ripple is buying Rail, a stablecoin payments platform, for $200 million, the firm said on Thursday. The deal is likely to close in the fourth quarter of this year, the statement said. Rail is a Toronto-based payments platform backed by Galaxy Ventures and Accomplice. The Rail acquisition is a way for Ripple to delve deeper into the fast-growing stablecoin ecosystem after launching its RLUSD stablecoin in December last year. RLUSD has a market cap of over $600 million, placing it in the top largest stablecoins, according to data tracked by CoinMarketCap. So, I will tell you this, I read a ton of articles covering this story, literally none of them that I've seen so far anyway, literally none of them explain what this company does and how it functions. So let me break it down for you because it's on their website as it turns out. This is Rail's website, and you can go to how it works. Oh, the powers of the internet. The sum of all human knowledge available, just a fingertips away. And so we have this, how your international payment works on Rail's hybrid system. When you partner with Rail, you get access to our global network of banking partners, unlocking a suite of capabilities and currency support. And folks, as I read through this, and it's pretty short here, but let me just read through this, you're going to find that this sounds very samey to how Ripple positions XRP as a bridge currency. And again, they're doing it for corporates. It's all for businesses, business transactions, but Ripple does that also. Anyway, their website continues. You initiate the payment via the API or your Rail dashboard, and we chart the most cost and time efficient path through our partner network, including identifying backup partners for redundancy. As needed, the payment will pass from a fiat currency into a stable coin through an exchange to expedite the payment exponentially while costing you almost nothing in fees. We manage the compliance and tracking on transitions between fiat and stable coins. And so what they're saying is if you're a customer, you're not the one doing the blockchain stuff. You're interfacing with whatever the Rail user interface is. You're clicking on what you want to do. And Rail's doing all the stuff behind the scenes, just like Ripple does all the stuff behind the scenes. So if you're the end user, you're not aware that XRP is necessarily being used in the plumbing for a foreign exchange transaction. Same concept here, just on a B2B transaction. All right, then the website continues. The stablecoin settles into the worldwide fiat currency of your choice. Payments that took days and weeks now take hours or less, no wallets required. And that's it. So it's the same thing, guys. It's, your fiat currency moved into a stablecoin and then into the fiat currency you choose. It's the same thing, except they're using a stablecoin instead of XRP. And I know that this makes people nervous, because isn't that supposed to be what XRP's for, and blah, 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 blah. Not so fast. I have been very clear for a long time that I do not believe that XRP is literally going to get 100% market share when it comes to being a bridge currency for foreign exchange transactions. And it's just seemed very obvious for a long time. Now, when people say that there's no place for XRP, I push back hard, because I know that they are wrong. There are, for different circumstances, it's going to it'll be very clear that XRP is the right choice. But look, when it comes to this bridge currency market, if you want to call it that, foreign exchange transactions, it's not a winner-take-all market. It simply is not. And most markets aren't, frankly. So that shouldn't be terribly surprising. But Ripple's already found success positioning XRP as a bridge currency. We just need to scale that further, and they are. But look, there won't be one single global bridge asset. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. This is a multi-chain world, and it always will be. And stablecoins are useful. It's a multi-asset environment. And so stablecoins, they might be preferred where there's sufficient liquidity, and they're well regulated. And we already see, like, if you're wondering if that's the case, Rail already exists. They've succeeded so much over the last several years that Ripple decided they're going to pay $200 million to own them. Although, let me say this before I forget this too. Even if XRP were to fail as a bridge currency and stablecoins took over, RLUSD would be a huge part of that almost certainly, because Ripple's already dominating the sector in a meaningful way. So even if it were just RLUSD, the stablecoin, being used as a bridge currency, that requires XRP. So XRP still wins. XRP is not going to lose in this battle, because it is perfectly positioned to do this. Every single transaction of RLUSD that takes place on the XRP blockchain requires XRP effectively as a gas fee. That's the way it's coded, folks. So even if that happens, XRP still wins. This is not something to be stressed out about or worried about. It just is not. But as you'll see, if you hang through the rest of this video, you will understand that there are specific circumstances where stablecoins do not work as bridge currencies, but XRP does. Just hang with me. Because look, XRP will thrive where liquidity is fragmented. That's very obvious. And it'll thrive where fiat rails are slow. Or more, maybe perhaps most importantly, or one of the most important things, XRP will thrive where neutrality matters. XRP is a jurisdictionless cryptocurrency, folks. That actually does matter. There's going to be some corners of the world where the most popular stablecoins out there, like Tether and USDC, they're not going to be so welcome, because that is effectively a derivative of the dollar. That's effectively what it is. They're backed by, United States treasuries, as T-bills, and the dollar itself. There's some corners of the world where they're like, no thanks. Also, there are some transactions where you're not converting from the dollar into anything, or from whatever into the dollar. So there are all sorts of transactions where you're not doing that. So already there, it's not going to be like one stable coin can win. It's for sure that's not possible. I'm 100% sure that's not possible, because you're never going to have every single trading pair possible on one exchange where everybody goes, and that's what it would take. Let me be clear. If you wanted, stable coin, like any other coin to be dominant, one of the requirements, it would be that if you're talking about 100% market share, there would have to be one place that every human goes to buy and sell these assets, which is never going to happen. There's tons of different exchanges for tons of different reasons. But that would be one of the things. And you'd have to have every trading pair that is imaginable on there, because then you'd have deep liquidity. But if you only have some trading pairs, well, and then even if you do have some trading pairs, but not all of them, is the liquidity deep? Can you fulfill transactions, or just partial transactions? So there's all sorts of reasons that you're going to run into problems here. And also other assets like central bank digital currencies, They may compete in specific corridors. There's going to be some of that. Maybe some bank coins, stuff like that. So while XRP isn't, I'll tell you this, XRP is not literally going to 100% dominate as a bridge currency. It just can't. It's not going to. We already see that that's not going to happen. But it doesn't have to. That's not like some sort of terribly negative thing. It can capture, huge slices of the market where its features are actually unmatched, like speed and, again, neutrality. XRP is available in every jurisdiction on the freaking planet, just about. And there's no geopolitical reason that it would be a problem to use it. That's a huge benefit. It's cost efficient and 24/7 settlement across jurisdictions. So, success in the space ultimately, it looks a whole lot more like specialization and not total monopoly. If you're talking about specifically XRP's use as a bridge currency, and keep in mind, this is all separate from all of XRP's additional utility. It's not like XRP's success hinges on this. It does not. It absolutely does not. This is just one of the areas where it is finding success, and so you should be excited for that, not scared because it's not going to get 100% market share here. And stablecoins, look, like I alluded to just a couple minutes ago, they may be powerful, but they have limits. They absolutely have constraints, okay? And get, like I'll say again, jurisdictional. For instance, USDC, one of the most popular stablecoins in existence, most adopted, might not, like I said, might not be usable or redeemable in some countries for any number of reasons, including geopolitical reasons, right? On top of that, I also was talking about liquidity fragmentation earlier. Well, consider this. You do realize, right, that there's not just like one USDC stablecoin blockchain, right? USDC is issued on a lot of different chains, Ethereum, Solana, and recently even on the XRP ledger. So depending on liquidity situations, it might not be the perfect solution anyway. And also, I got to tell you, like, it does not make sense to be worried about XRP having volatility because transactions with XRP are so fast that they're effectively real time. So any volatility you're going to experience over a span of a few seconds is going to be at almost any point in time just negligible. And so for a lot of instances, I will tell you what, the benefits substantially outweigh any even potential concern of that. I mean, the truth is, the volatility of XRP, it is not a problem in XRP performing the role as a bridge currency. And the more the asset class matures, the less volatile it's going to be anyway. So that problem, even if you perceive it as a problem, would just fix itself eventually. But most stable coins, they're effectively, just like I said, they're effectively like derivatives of USD. They're representatives of the United States dollar and T-bills, right? And so they're not great for cross-currency routing in many instances. Like, I don't know, the United States dollar to the Thai baht. Like, is that going to perfectly work in every single corridor? Are we sure? And what if it's not USD? Like, again, it goes back to what I said a few minutes ago. You're not going to have every single trading pair available where people are exchanging assets. And even if you did, well, I guess then you would have deep liquidity. But if you're going to have a lot, but not all, you're not going to have deep liquidity on some of the more exotic pairs. The less the ones that people are less frequently trading. So, XRP doesn't rely on, obviously centralized issuers, and it can bridge literally any two assets. Isn't that powerful? Yeah, the answer is yes. And it can bridge any two assets, not just fiat stablecoin pairs either. It can bridge all sorts of stuff. Pick the asset, folks. If it's tokenized, XRP can bridge it. And every financial asset on the planet just about is going to be tokenized in years to come. So yeah, there's going to increasingly be a place for XRP, and it does have typically deep liquidity on just about every exchange on the planet, relatively speaking. So it's pretty well positioned actually. And that right there, that is why XRP is designed for global reach. While stablecoins, they're actually more like regionally constrained. So there's going to be some overlap where you could use either, but ultimately, XRP, it can perform in corridors where some stablecoins frankly cannot, for a ton of reasons I've already outlined. That's the fact. That's why XRP is not going away, but it's also not going to have 100% market share, but it doesn't need to. That's the cool thing about this. And so It turns out, really, XRP's role, if anything, it's not going to be obsolete if that's what you're worried. And I know that that's what people worry about. The only reason they're not worrying about it right now is because they haven't figured out that Ripple just bought a competitor that uses stablecoins instead of XRP. That's the only reason people aren't freaking out yet. As soon as they figure that out, I'm going to see it tomorrow or the next day. I bet you, if they figure it out anyway. And then I'm just going to point them to this video. Okay? Because it is not time to be freaking out about this. This is good, if I'm telling you, because Ripple is likely to plug in RLUSD everywhere they can now that they're buying this company. And that, again, I'll say again, that secures the long-term viability of XRP as a bridge currency, Frank. The long-term viability of XRP, period. That's just one of the use cases, really. But yeah, so Ripple, they're obviously not betting that XRP will win literally every single use case anyway. I mean, I'm sure certainly not. It doesn't need to be all things to all people, but it's got its place. And I've always said that. So, what's the strategy look like? Well, you can use RLUSD for predictable fiat-aligned transactions, and that's fine. But what about XRP? Well, if you need speed, liquidity bridging, neutrality, that'll be a big one. That'll be a big reason people pick XRP over stablecoins. If you need censorship resistance, in fact, like that's a scenario where you'd want to use XRP over a stablecoin. And so the fact of the matter is Ripple owning both of these tools, if you want to look at them as tools, that gives XRP a way better shot because payments will flow where it's best suited and not where Ripple has to force it, actually. It's kind of like instead of using a hammer for every job, or maybe a hammer's not the best tool for every single job, you can own a hammer and a screwdriver, for example. What a novel idea, And so again, the space is large enough for multiple winners. Cross-border payments, foreign exchange liquidity, remittances, B2B settlement. We're talking about a multi-trillion-dollar space. So if XRP ends up securing even a single-digit percentage of that flow, I mean, what if it's like 3%, 5%, 7%? Who knows? If it gets anywhere in that range, my God, and we're talking global bridge asset volume, that could represent immense utility-driven demand. And so I don't know if those percentages might sound small to you, and maybe it ends up being more than that. I'm not pretending to know. That's not a prediction. But I'm saying even if it's that could be ridiculously substantial. And that's on top of all the rest of the utility that XRP offers. XRP is a very clear winner of the crypto space. I'll keep saying it. It's a very clear early winner of the crypto space. It could not be more obvious. I have no doubt about that. It's already happened, folks. It's not if it's going to happen. It's already happened. This is not a threat. This is good. This will make XRP get used more than it otherwise would. The fact that they're buying this company, even if they keep operating it effectively more or less the way they are, and maybe they'll change that, but even if they do, this is good for XRP. This is good for XRP holders. It's more adoption, folks. It means more confidence from investors entering the space. And so, XRP, it's clearly got just, it oozes utility here, but it doesn't need to dominate this specific use case, not in the way that a lot of people are thinking. It just doesn't, and it won't. Not completely dominate. It just needs to be truly indispensable in key corridors where no other asset works better. And sometimes, frankly, there'll be a lot of instances where that's the case, where XRP actually is the best suited. But it's not going to be used for 100% of it, and that's fine. We still win, folks. We still win. Please be happy about this, okay? I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say, all right? That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.